What I have at this point are 4 equations where I need to solve each equation for the unknown variable. The variable in this case is going to be the letter. The variable is always the letter in algebra. The variable will change. Sometimes it's x, sometimes it's y, sometimes it's something completely different. In this case, the variable is going to be the h. But I always want to try to solve this equation for that unknown variable. And there it is. So I want to get h on one side of the equal sign by itself, and I want to move things around so that it is alone, preferably on the left-hand side here, and everything else is over on the right-hand side. To do this, the first step is that I need to move the constant. The constant is the number that's by itself with the term with the variable. That's 12 in this case. Since 12's positive, I'm going to need to move that 12 by subtracting it. So I will go ahead and subtract 12, but if I do it to one side, in order to keep the equation balanced, I have to do it to both sides. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll subtract 12 from the other side as well. Now, for some people, it helps them to draw a line right down the middle of the equal sign. Hopefully your lines are straighter and neater than mine, and that keeps both sides of the equal sign separated for you. I encourage you to do that. If you don't wish to do that, that's fine as well. Now we do the math from top to bottom. 12 minus 12 is 0, so those cancel out. I need to bring down my minus 8h. I bring down my equal sign as well, and then I do the math on negative 28 minus 12, and I get negative 40. At this point, I have one step left to do. I have the coefficient of h, which is negative 8. Since negative 8h means negative 8 times h, I need to undo the multiplication that's happening there in order to finish this operation. So I will use the opposite of multiplication, which is division. I will divide by a negative 8. But if I do it to this side, I have to do it to the other. When I do, the negative 8's cancel. I have h is equal to negative 40 divided by negative 8. I can put that in my calculator. If I know it off the top of my head, that's great. It's 5, and h is equal to 5 is my answer. And we'll move down to the next. Again, we're going to solve for the unknown variable. In this case, the unknown variable is an x. We're not going to panic that there's a fraction because we're going to treat the fraction the way we would any other number. We draw our line down the equal sign. And I need to move the constant, which is minus 9. I'm going to undo the subtraction on minus 9 by doing addition. And so I will add 9 on the left-hand side. To keep the equation balanced, I have to do it on the other side as well, so I'll go ahead and add 9 there. And now I do the math down. I bring my 1/3 x down. Negative 9 plus 9 cancels. I draw my equal sign. Negative 30 plus 9 is a negative 21. Now that I'm here, I'm not going to panic that I have a fraction. I'm going to do the same thing that I would do. 1/3 x means 1/3 multiplied by x. So I'm going to undo that multiplication by utilizing division. And I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by 1/3. I have calculators that will do this math for me, or I can use some old-fashioned hand math. I can invert my fraction and multiply by 3/1. Negative 21 times 3/1 will give me a negative 63. I want to clean this up by making sure that I write x is equal to negative 63. I'm going to circle my answer, and then I'm going to move on to the next problem. This next problem involves distribution. I use the distributive property to move the 2 that's in front of the parentheses on the right side into the terms that are inside the parentheses. I have my line down the middle, and the first step that I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 times 3m, because I want to simplify the right-hand side of the equation before I move anything around. When I do this, and I take 2 and multiply it by 3m, what I will get is 6m. Now I'm going to multiply 2 times negative 9 and get negative 18. I bring down my equal sign, and I rewrite my equation so that I have the complete equation to work from. Now I have a variable on both sides equation. I need to move the terms with the variable to one side. I could choose either side. In this case, what I'm going to choose to do is to move the 6m. I'm going to subtract 6m from both sides, draw a line, now I'm going to do the math. 7m minus 6m is 1m. I bring down my negative 8. Those cancel. I bring down my negative 18. Once I do this, next I need to move all the constants over to the right-hand side. I have 1m minus 8. I undo that subtraction with addition on both sides. I draw a line underneath. I bring down 1m. Negative 18 plus 8 is negative 10. Now at this stage, normally I'd have to divide by the coefficient of m, but in this case it's a 1, so I don't have to do that. M is equal to negative 10, and I am done with this equation. So I'm going to move on, and I have one more to do. A little preview of the problem we'll do after this next. So now I have double distribution, but I have it all on one side. It's all on the left side. I'm going to need to distribute the 4 into x minus 3. Once I've done that, I'm going to need to distribute this negative sign, or in truth, this negative 1, into x plus 4. As I do this math out, I take the 4 and I multiply it times the x, and I get 4x. I take the 4 times the negative 3, I get negative 12. Now I'm going to do the next distribution. Negative 1 times x is negative 1x, and negative 1 times 4 is going to be negative 4. Now I make sure to draw my equal sign, and I bring down my negative 28, and I'm ready to combine like terms. So I'm going to use the highlighters to show you what the like terms are in this equation, but like terms will always share a letter and a rank. We don't have to worry about rank right now, but they need to share a letter or they need to be constants. 4x and negative 1x are like terms. Then I have negative 12 and negative 4 that are like terms. When I take 4x minus 1x, I will get 3x. When I take a negative 12 minus 4, I will get negative 16. Once I do this, I have to bring down my equal sign and my negative 28. Now I start fresh from here, and I have a two-step equation. I need to move all the constants, that is the number by itself, over to one side. So I'm going to add 16 to both sides so that all the constants are just on the right. I bring down my 3x. I bring down my equal sign. Negative 28 plus 16 is negative 12. At this point, I have one last thing to do. I need to divide both sides by the coefficient of x. That's the number in front.